organizational perspective to talk about the events and everything else that's kind of gone into this event, aside from the presentations and the workshops. So up on stage with me are people that have had, well, minus Joe. Joe's somewhere being Joe. But the majority of people up on the stage have put in significant effort and a lot of work on top of everything else that the volunteers and everybody else with these orange staff lanyards have put in. So we're going to talk about essentially the organization of this. So who we are up here essentially we're the conference organizational committee, we're event coordinators, we're board makers, badge makers, hackers, and in some cases people convinced they wanted to help, which in some cases takes a lot of convincing because there's a lot of work that goes into organizing events such as this. So this is BSides Portland, the prominent Pacific Northwest Security Conference. I'm very happy that y'all decided to stick around for the 101 track and to come here on a Friday while there's other lesser conferences potentially happening in the area. So from an organizational perspective, Joe had alluded to the fact that we're a 501c3 now, and we actually have been a 501c3 now for 2 years. We got our official status from the federal government last year right before Con. And that was all due in part to John Hannes, who's the president of our board. Listed on the screen here is everybody that's involved from an organizational perspective for the 501c3 entity. While these individuals also contribute to the conference and all of the conference planning that happens essentially all year, but really ramps up right after Vegas and the sort of DevCon Black Hat frenzy. These people are on the phone once a month and behind the scenes working on various things just for the organization. So myself, for example, I serve as the treasurer, so I get to count all of the money that you donated to us and that the sponsors donated to us around April to make sure that we're not going to wind up in 501c3 prison. Don't want that. Furthermore, we have board members. We have information in a Google group, so the fact that it's a 501c3 means that everything we do needs to be public and documented. So if you're at all interested in how the event comes together behind the scenes, not from an event perspective, but from an org perspective, join the Google group. Mike up on stage here is our treasurer. He hosts all of the board meetings and posts all of the minutes and gets everything aligned and makes sure things happen. So the CFP this year was ran a little bit differently. So this was actually the second time ever that we had a CFP process. So last year, Joe Fitz led the effort to sort of formalize the CFP and develop a process. As he sort of said in his introduction, we have the CFP form like on our website, and it's there all year. We never take it down. Anybody, like you can go and submit to the CFP now for next year. Don't recommend it. You should do it. Don't recommend it just because we're not going to tell you anything for 11 months about getting your submission, but it's there. But we've always had an informal process, so as a result of last year's efforts, we formalized a process. We got an actual review board. We came up with metrics and guidelines for everybody involved. We had speaker communications. We had acceptance emails. We gave people that were rejected in round 1 feedback so they could make round 2 submissions better and redo it so that their point was getting across better. And then if you proceed in round 2 and still wind up with a decline because of the overwhelming amounts of submissions that we actually have, we do our best to provide every single person that submitted individualized feedback to make their submissions better for other events or for BSides Portland next year. This is a huge amount of work, and it's in thanks to everybody on the screen listed that's on the board. So if you see any board member at any point during this conference, definitely go up to them and thank them. But also, if you see somebody with the blue badge as a speaker or a workshop coordinator, thank them even more because they put in way more work than we did. So as far as the CFP process goes, we have 2 rounds, one of which closes in August right after the Vegas frenzy, and one which closes in September. As a result of that, we have about a month lead for round 2 in order to give people round 1 feedback if we feel that their submission is really good but not quite up to snuff to get overall acceptance from the review board. And we also have a record number of those coming through every year for both rounds. So the earlier you get a submission in, the better, and the more care that it gets from all of us. With sort of the evolution of the con and the fact that we've grown this year about 40%, the CFP has actually grown about that much as well. We had record numbers for both rounds. And we unfortunately, of course, couldn't accept everything. Within the conference, we have about 22 hours of total prepared content. So we basically run a keynote both days, and then we start talks at 11 and we go till 5. So if you look at that time block, it's about 24 hours. But then we do lightning talks, and then we do BSidesPDX 101, so we're reduced to 22 hours of actual presentation content by presenters. With that, we have 1-hour talks and 25 30-minute talks. And we try to lap those in the schedule such that they're paired together, so you can go back and forth to a room and there's not 2 30-minute talks happening with the 1-hour talk, but that's all just schedule coordination. As a result of all the expansion 2 in round 1, for example, we realized that the workshop submissions were at such a high caliber this year that we couldn't turn any of them down for any reason because they were all just terrific. So we had a problem early on in round 1 where we were running out of capacity already for the workshops. So I got on a phone with Joe. I'm like, Joe, all of these workshops are amazing this year. I don't want to decline any of them. What can we do about it? It's like, well, let's spend more money and get a second track for workshops so we can have an A and a B track. So we were able to actually, through the process, accept every single workshop that came through because every single one of them was terrific and we couldn't say no. So for anybody that's organizing a workshop, go up to them and thank them and tell them, like, keep doing the good work because workshops are where it's at. Furthermore, presentations, they're all terrific. From an organizational perspective and being the chair of the CFP this year, I got to have sort of first dabs at reviewing everything and having direct communications with speakers, and it's never been an easier process to work with everybody. Everybody going through the process was great. And to kind of quote Ava in her keynote that just happened, a lot of people go into talks and they think that they don't have something to offer or that, oh, this person beat me to what I wanted to talk about. Don't worry about it. Submit to the CFP. Submit to every CFP with your ideas. Make sure your abstract is good, get it reviewed, have an outline, and then submit it. Don't think that you're not somebody that can also be presenting and kill your heroes. Like, get up here, submit to the CFP, and we'll see if we can fit you into the schedule because we'd love to. I talked about that already. I got ahead of myself. Google Sheets is horrible. We need a better way to do the CFP, so that's coming next year, but that's like behind the scenes. Basically, I have like this huge spreadsheet, and I had to do a lot of greps and stuff on like comma-separated values from an exported Google Sheet. It was horrible. I don't recommend. So I'm going to transition now that we've kind of talked about organizational things to badges. So who loves the badge this year? Everybody. So it's Multnomah Falls, which is near and dear to my heart as an outdoor enthusiast. If you read any of my bios or go on my Twitter, like I try to make everything like, yeah, you know, computers are great, security's fun. I'd much rather be like in the woods. So I'm glad that while I'm here, I have like a little piece of nature around my neck, and I'd like to thank Maggie for that and get her up here to talk about the idea and how it all came to be.
Hi, my name is Maggie, and I got to design your badge this year. So I'm here to tell you how you too can become badge master for a conference. Basically, I'd been seeing Joe and Mike do amazing badges year after year for both BSides and 503 and DC 503, and my favorite was the bike badge where there were LEDs going around the wheels, and if you touched the pedal, it would go faster. And I had the idea to make a waterfall one with LEDs in the back, and I would tell everybody, we should do this, we should do this. And this year when I recommended it again, they said, you should just do it. So I did. I didn't have all that much experience. I'd made one badge before. One of the projects that my team at Intel supports is ChipSec, if you've heard of ChipSec. But that was kind of easy because there were front-facing LEDs. I'd already had the artwork, the logo was done and everything. So, but I did have some experience. I had used DipTrace to do that one. We also did have electronic badges for our wedding. I worked on a little bit of the artwork for that, but not the electronics. And I'd also been known to put LEDs on my shoes or eel wires on my dresses and rip off components off of boards and put them on my nails in between acrylic layers. But this year we started from scratch. We started with the artwork, and I wasn't sure exactly what shape would be good because if you've been to Multnomah Falls, it's kind of this really long, thin thing. So Do we do a square long thing? That would probably have sharp edges, so I thought of an oval. The oval was a little portally and strange, so then I thought raindrop, because Portland. So sketched this little drawing out, and I found this awesome PCB art tutorial on Hackster.io. It's on YouTube, and I've linked it in the slides if anybody wants to go check it out. It's great. It's by Andrew Zoa, and step by step it tells you how to manipulate the images and break them into different images that you can then process with KiCad and put them all together and have it, have every single piece of your artwork be in the layer of the PCB where you want it to be. So that's kind of half of the work. Then came KiCad, because I'd never touched it before. And I met Chris Gamble this year during Black Hat, and he's fantastic, and he told me all about his podcast and YouTube channel, and that was exciting. And then we said our goodbyes, but I feel like I've been hanging out with him ever since, because every time I would run into a problem, how do I do this? Google. Chris's video was the first hit, and he's just an amazing teacher. He has this YouTube channel called Contextual Electronics. So if you're new to KiCad, when you run into problems, not if, you'll probably see his face. Click on it. He's an amazing teacher. He's really organized, and he'll walk you through it. And then, thanks to Osh Park, we got prototype boards one day, and they looked pretty good. There was a lot of lessons learned. This was one of the early prototypes where I thought of the oval shape. Originally, I thought of doing a more realistic picture PCB art, but that was kind of messy. It definitely recommend doing more of a clip artsy type, simpler image if you want the trees to be one color and the water to be a different one. Definitely give yourself more than 2 months. We started working on this after Vegas and do not recommend. It's a little bit of panic there and some late nights. Side view LEDs are a thing that I did not know about. The bike badge, for example, had backlit LEDs. So their LEDs are very directional, so you'll see a dot on the front. So these have LEDs that are on its side. If you see them, they have like a belly. So they shine parallel to the board, so they disperse the light that way. And adding the hot glue in the back helps give a viscous medium that you can disperse that light over. We tried sparkly hot glue, and that helped a little bit, but not significantly enough to where we wanted to do it for every badge. One of the other things we learned is that the polygons on the artwork, for example, the trees I made on the copper, I used those copper planes as ground planes. And so DRC was good, ERC was good, but there was a bit of a short in one of the first prototypes because it didn't recognize that was a ground plane that was touching a via, and we had to do cut the trace and do a little Megwire. But all was fixed, and yeah. It really takes a village. I did not do this on my own. I had tons of help. First and foremost, thank you so much to Osh Park and Screaming Circus. They really went above and beyond, especially Drew, Dwayne. They even made specific jigs so they could pick and place all the parts. They did everything for free, and they were amazing to work with. It wasn't a one and done deal. We bounced emails back and forth for months. Andrew Zoa's tutorial, go check it out. It's fantastic, and he has his own website where he does like portraits of people in PCB art. It's fantastic. Chris Gamble is stellar. So Joe Fitz and Mike for letting me reuse their schematics and code that we recycle every year. That's great. Office DeskJet did your badge last year, and he's the one who knew how to do the side view LEDs and the hot glue and had a lot of KiCad experience. So a lot of those late nights he was helping me figure out if I'd messed anything up. Mickey, for all the tribal knowledge and support, you're awesome. And everybody who was here helping put these together in the badge party the other day. You guys are great. If you want to go look at the code, make your own, change it, look at the images or anything, everything's up on GitHub. So go check it out. And thank you so much for trusting me with your badge. I hope you like it as much as I do.
hey, so it wouldn't be BSides if there weren't contests and events. I mean, the talks are neat and all, but let's play some games. I guess this isn't strictly a game, but you can make it one if you try hard enough. We have a sticker swap. If you go into the event room, you can pick up a sticker and you can stick it on things. Please don't deface the convention center. At least don't let them see you do it. We have, once again, the backpack drive for foster youth. This is a great program, and I know that you have at least one, perhaps several black hat bags that you don't want. I don't know if we have a bin yet in the event room, but they are there? Okay, they weren't there last time I looked, but they are there now. So yeah, bring your black hat bag today or tomorrow and put it in there. Once again, we have lightning talks. If you didn't think ahead of time to submit something to the CFP and instead had a great idea just right now, or maybe 5 minutes before the lightning talk, or maybe like 5 minutes after, just do it. Dean's going to MC that, and it will be amazing. Once again, we have the quiz show. Steve puts this on every year, and it is a fantastic time. If you forgot to do the lightning talk, but then you had a good idea and you want to do the quiz show, you should do it. It'll be amazing. We also have Who Slided It Anyway. So if you ran out of ideas for the quiz show and that didn't work out, you can still go to Who Slided It Anyway, and you don't even have to prepare slides. We have those for you. So you're really ready to go. Then, of course, every year we have the CTF, and I want to thank Topher once again for running the CTF.
So I get up here every year to talk about the CTF. It's a project that I've been leading for BSides Portland for the last, I believe, 3 years. I started running it in 2016, so I ran it 16, 17, and 18. We also did a CTF at OMSI, which was excellent. It was ran through their Maker Faire in 2018, right before BSides Portland, so everybody on the CTF committee got to run 2 events within like a month of each other, and there was no challenge reuse. It was horrible. It was a lot of work, but it worked out. I get up here and I also talk about how I really enjoy the fact that a lot of CTFs are becoming open source now. There's a big issue amongst CTF organizers and people that compete in CTFs that there's never source code afterwards. There's never solutions from the challenge organizers or concepts. There's solutions of people that solved the challenge, but never of how the organizers felt the challenge should have been solved. So there's this huge disconnect of knowledge. So in 2017, I got up here and I gave a talk about the CTF framework that I helped develop and how we're making CTFs, at least for BSides Portland, a little bit revolutionary, where everything's online, everything can be played afterwards. So we do everything with like Docker Compose, and not only do we give the challenge code, we make it easy for you to deploy on your own machine, so you can solve it as it was meant to be solved during the CTF. Because I know a lot of people want to play, they don't necessarily have the time. The event room's limited in space. The inner tubes usually sucks in the conference center. Hopefully that's better this year with the dedicated CTF AP. But people always want to play, but there's not enough time in 2 days to do it all. So we publish everything in order for people to be able to play whenever they want. And for the most part, there's not a lot of code rot, so you can probably still play the 2017 CTF. So sort of going forward in time, we had this thing called Hackboat this year, which, who was on Hackboat? Anybody in the room? Yeah, Hackboat. So on a Hackboat, I gave a talk as well about the history of the BSides Portland CTF. It talked more about the framework. It had statistics and metrics of how many people participate, how many people solve challenges, why we scale certain challenges to a certain difficulty. One of the things that we really like doing with the BSides Portland CTF is making things very accessible. This isn't DevCon, this isn't Vegas. If you've never solved a CTF challenge before, get into that room and you're gonna cat your first flag, and you're gonna, during the closing ceremonies, be able to raise your hand when we ask the question that we do every year, who catted their first flag in the CTF? So go do that, I wanna see people's hands up. So as I was preparing that talk to go on to Hackboat, I sort of realized that I have been the face of this for 3 years. I helped build this framework. I keep talking about how the framework makes challenge writing easy and events easy to run, but I'm the one that's always been doing it. So I'm using my own framework, and I've never seen somebody else use it. I know people at other BSides that have done it. I don't necessarily know if they use the same format, but it is there, and people have used it, but I've never seen firsthand at my conference, BSides Portland, somebody do it. So I joked on stage at Hackboat, I'm done, and I kind of pointed to a couple of people like, you're doing it next year. And one guy was silly enough to say yes. So welcome Aaron to the stage to talk about how he took over the CTF for me.
Yeah, so I'm the aforementioned silly guy who agreed to do this for some reason. But I have really gotten an appreciation for how much work Topher's put in just from doing it from 1 year. I'm like kind of burnt out now, trying to find someone else to hand this off to. You know, I had a lot of fun this year. And just to kind of go over really quickly, if you don't know what a CTF is, it's a computer security competition. So we basically take hacking, and we try to include both kind of like the blue side and the red side, and we gamify it. So there's a scoreboard. It's like a Jeopardy board. So you just pick the challenge you want to try and do. There's no prerequisites. You don't have to like have done another challenge before that. And the kind of stuff we'll take you through is like web and binary exploitation. So that's the web stuff that's, you know, pulling up burp and, you know, looking at the traffic. Binary exploitation, that's pull up GDB and try and build some exploits, find some vulnerabilities with, you know, Ghidra or IDAPRO or something like that. We also have forensics, which is, you know, like PCAP files and reverse engineering. Like Topher said, unlike at other CTFs, we try and make it as easy and beginner friendly. We'll find out if we succeeded at that. So if you don't solve one, don't feel bad about it. That probably means we didn't make it easy enough. But I really hope you come and check it out and talk to us. And if you're struggling, talk to us. We might be able to drop you some hints to get you moving in the right direction. These are the categories we have. As I kind of already mentioned, binary exploit, reverse engineering, web exploit, forensics. But then this year we've also introduced 2 new categories that I'm really excited about. We have a physical category, which includes stuff like lockpicking, RFID scanning, stuff like that. And then also a data recovery category. So I don't even really totally understand how this challenge works, but basically you're provided with like a little like clean box where you can try and reassemble and fix the drive heads on a hard drive. And if you're successful, you can pull that flag out and submit it on the scoreboard. And just to talk about the infrastructure a little bit, the scoreboard is manually deployed to an OCI, that's Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Compute Instance, on a separate virtual cloud network, totally separate from the challenges. All the challenges are automatically deployed with Kubernetes using the Oracle Kubernetes engine. And this year I spent a lot of time working on the network policies. We're using Calico for that. So the idea is once you own a certain challenge and you now have like a shell on it, the idea is to try and make sure you can't then pivot to other challenges and hopefully not escape out of the pod and get on the node. But if you do, definitely like let me know and I'll give you lots and lots of points for disclosing it. But I prefer you don't totally hose the entire infrastructure and ruin the fun for everyone else. So, but you'll basically win if you can get out of a pod. Yeah, and then another security measure is I made sure that the service account tokens don't have any capabilities. At least as far as I could tell, I can't even use the service account token to enumerate pods. And on top of that, I also tried and made sure that no pod even can connect to the API master. I just want to give a huge thanks to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. They sponsored the entire CTF infrastructure. We didn't have to pay for any of it. And then I would also really like to thank all these people who worked really hard to create challenges. Without them, I would not have been able to do it, and if I had, no one would have fun doing the challenges because it would all just be like Pwn and RE stuff. So thanks to F. Harding, OXDade, FD Carl, 1NDO, Mr. Dead, and Wireglitch. If any of you are here, can you like stand up? I see F. Harding. You got to stand up. Everyone give him a round of applause. Yeah, and I assume everyone else is hard at work fixing stuff last minute. I think like the CTF goes live in like half hour, so this is the URL. Come check it out. We're gonna be like across the hall in the events room, hanging out. I've got the scoreboard showing on the projector. Rukula was awesome and got us our own AP. Hopefully the network's a little better than it has been in the past.
And a projector for the first time.
And a projector, so that's awesome. It's gonna make it more competitive. You'll see your team name moving up the leaderboard, so it should be fun.
No, keep it going. Aaron did an amazing job. So it wouldn't be a B-Sides without, of course, some evening activities and potential debauchery. But not that much debauchery tonight because it's going to be right here in the convention center. As Joe mentioned, we're going to have Who Slide, the quiz show. We have 2 movies showing, so War Games and Sneakers. And we're going to have like drink tickets that you have to hunt down and find. It's a CTF, but without points, but the points are beer. Saturday night, we have sort of informal gatherings because we've outgrown the capacity of a lot of the venue spaces that we used to host the after party at, such as Control H. We're going to restrict that now sort of to like volunteers and staff, but we're going to have events and informal gatherings at Spirit of 77 across the street, which is where lunch is today, which I believe is starting like now. And then also at Ground Control in downtown Portland. Who's been to Ground Control? Is it awesome? Everybody go to Ground Control Saturday night. It's a blast. Portland geeking and arcade games. What's not to love? We already talked about lunch. It's happening now. Saturday there's food tents outside on the Columbia Bank parking lot. Columbia Bank's awesome. They're a sponsor and they're also who we choose to bank with for our 501c3. Awesome group of folks, and they're letting us use their parking lot. And that's the end of file, and now we can have chatter, or if there's questions, you can come up to that microphone or harass any of us like later.